I never imagined that a nap in a billionaire's bed would lead to a life-changing family bond. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The world flashed before me, spiraling into chaos. I lay on his sheets, soft and pristine, the scent of fresh linen mixing with something rich, probably the essence of privilege itself. For a moment, I drifted away, lulled by comfort and power. Then the door swung open, and reality crashed back. He stood there, tall and imposing, eyes cold as ice, yet hiding a storm underneath. I felt a jolt, my heart racing, fear coating my throat. What was I doing? Who did I think I was? My life, a series of cramped apartments and hurried meals, collided with his. A billionaire. I was supposed to be here, wasn't I? Silly thoughts whirled in my head like a tornado. Just the day before, I had been at my sister's wedding, catching glimpses of her happiness mingled with shadows. A familiar tight chest announced my jealousy. In the same breath, I cheered for her, yet yearned for someone to hold me. The dance floor pulsed with laughter, but in my heart, I could only feel pressure. Who would hold my pain, my dreams tucked away like unwanted gifts? And then, this drape of opportunity fell over me like a heavy blanket. Suddenly, I was here, in his room, with his life closing in on me. The walls whispered secrets, each corner lurking with unseen forces. I wasn't supposed to be in this realm of glitz and glamour, yet here I was. We locked eyes. I saw confusion swimming in his gaze. Was it shock? Pity? Even a spark of interest? It left me wondering. My hands trembled as I sat up. The bed was a world of silk and plush comfort, and I felt out of place like a patch of weeds in a flower garden. He stepped closer, a storm brewing in his presence. What are you doing here? His voice sliced through the air, low and dangerous. I could feel the silence stretching, the weight of expectation grappling with unvoiced tension. My pulse raced. Why did I smell opportunity laced with danger? And just like that, everything began to shift. The world around us ignited with a promise of chaos. My brain screamed for escape, yet my heart tethered me here, to this ill-fated moment. Who was this man? What secrets did he hide? Why did my gut tell me this was beyond chance? The tension was palpable. My thoughts raced, unraveling like thread. I was a moth drawn to flame. And yet, the deeper question tugged at my mind. Did I dare to seek what lay beyond? What if this nap would lead me to a bond more profound than I could ever fathom? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The weight of his question hung between us, dense and suffocating. I could barely gather the words. The anxiety strung taut in my chest fought for freedom. I started, but my voice faltered, the truth tethered behind my teeth. He stepped closer again, the air thickening with the tension of unspoken things. You shouldn't be here, he asserted, and with that, a rush of defiance surged through me. My life was cluttered with boundaries I'd never crossed, but today, standing in this room, I felt their chains loosening. I didn't choose this, I managed to say, the edge of my own anger breaking through the fear. I didn't plan to be here, but life has a way of tossing you where you wouldn't expect. His brow knit together, and for a moment, I could see another man beneath the billionaire facade, a man being stripped of his armor, revealing layers of confusion and something almost raw, almost tender. I glanced around the room, my vision blurring with uncertainty. The opulence, the luxury surrounding me felt otherworldly, yet somehow, here I was, steadying myself against the tidal wave of life's unpredictability. You don't know me, I continued, fighting the pulse of vulnerability at my throat. And I'm not here to take anything from you. He stared at me, the chill in his eyes flickering. I don't even know why I'm still standing here. He spun on his heel, his back to me for an unbearable moment. The sharp lines of his figure seemed to waver against the backdrop of chaos that lurked outside. Then, as if summoned by my confusion, he turned back, a shadow of a smile ghosting his lips. But it does seem I owe you an explanation. The storm crackled between hope and confusion. I swallowed hard, desperate for clarity. What does that mean? Let's just say I didn't expect anyone to find me, he replied, his voice softer now, a thread of camaraderie emerging. Especially not like this. His words danced around my heart like a firework waiting to explode, and for a fleeting heartbeat, warmth began to seep through the cracks of our dissonance. Finding you? I echoed, and suddenly it wasn't just the chaos of the moment I was enmeshed in, but a feeling of purpose awakening deep within me. You were hiding? He hesitated, his defenses momentarily down. I've always known what's expected of me, how to mold myself into this facade. His fingertips brushed over the edge of his desk, contemplative, revealing a glimmer of honesty. And yet I remained trapped in it. Just then, the silence between us thickened anew, both unsettling and sacred. There was something almost exhilarating in that moment. Here we were, both entangled in our untold stories, both wrestling against expectations. The door swung open again, breaking our fragile connection. A woman strode in, her eyes filled with a mix of authority and concern. Ryan, we need to talk, she started, but paused as her gaze fell on me, her mouth forming a thin line. Who is she? Ryan straightened, instantly reverting to the mask of the untouchable billionaire. Just someone I met, he said, but there was no warmth in his tone now. Only a chill, the moment of connection evaporating in seconds. My heart sank as I realized that he was sliding back into the shadows. The tension shifted again, turning sharp and scrutinizing as the woman scanned me. You shouldn't be here, she stated with an edge that unraveled the small bond we had started to form. A weight settled over my shoulders, heavy with the realization that this venture into his world came with unspoken rules. Before I could respond, Ryan cast me a meaningful glance, laden with words unspoken. But then his gaze shifted, his moment of vulnerability snuffed out. I have to handle this, he said abruptly, turning to the woman, letting the breath hang there like a noose around us. My heart pounded in my chest, panic threading through me. I felt as though I was vanishing into the walls, swept away by the tides of his world I wasn't prepared to swim in. I wanted to jump on him and shake him. Don't let them pummel the truth out of you. But no words surfaced, and I was left standing there, a silent witness to something burgeoning and heartbreaking. Wait, I called out as they began to walk past me, but Ryan didn't turn back. I felt lost, swept away as the door closed behind them, sealing me in solitude that I stood frozen for moments that felt like hours, the echo of their footsteps fading, barely able to breathe in the stillness of the room that no longer felt like refuge. The thoughts tumbled through my mind, questions without answers clawing for exit. What had I walked into? What had I uncovered with that innocent nap? Then my phone buzzed in the depths of my pocket, slicing through the silence. A message flickered onto the screen, one I had not expected. My sister, the one full of excitement and joy just days before, was asking for me. Mom's in the hospital. We need to talk. A deep chill pooled in the pit of my stomach. My heart spiraled as dread coiled around the glimmering hope I had barely begun to grasp. Suddenly, I stood at the crossroads between two worlds, one at the brink of collapse, and another that flickered with fragile possibilities and promise. I felt the weight of uncertainty pressing against my chest as I blinked at the message on my screen. The words seemed to float before my eyes, each letter a pinprick in the fabric of hope I had barely begun to knit together. My fingers trembled as I typed back and hit send, my pulse echoing with the urgency of the situation that I fought the rising panic bubbling like a surge behind my ribcage. My mother had always been strong, a relentless spirit who defied the odds, but hospitals meant something was undeniably wrong. I didn't have the luxury of time to unravel what was happening in Ryan's world. I had my own to manage. The door creaked open again, and I turned in anticipation, half expecting Ryan's familiar silhouette, but instead, it was the woman from before. Her posture was still rigid, but the sharpness in her gaze had softened slightly. We need to talk, she said, her voice low and almost conspiratorial. About what? I replied defensively, still wading through the barrage of emotions within me. About Ryan. I don't think he fully understands the implications of what you're doing here. Her words were heavy and cautionary, and I felt a swell of anger rise. What do you mean? She crossed her arms, a shield against the vulnerability I was unwilling to show. He's not just another billionaire playing with feelings. He has responsibilities, expectations, things that come with the territory. And what makes you think I've come here to play games? My tone was sharper than I intended, but her presence was a reminder of the pressure surrounding Ryan, the man I barely knew, the man who glimpsed something in me I had yet to fully explore. She studied me, her expression shifting from suspicion to something akin to understanding, perhaps even pity. I saw the way he looked at you. He doesn't let people in easily, and I sense that you've touched on something in him. Touched on something? I echoed, disbelief mingling with hope. Isn't that what everyone wants, someone who can break through those barriers? There was a flicker of sadness in her eyes. In theory, yes. But love is a dangerous game in this world. Sometimes it generates more harm than good. With a deep sigh, she uncrossed her arms. Just be careful. The stakes are higher than you realize. That's what life has been for me, an endless series of high stakes. I replied, my voice catching. Would you rather I continue tiptoeing around expectations? She didn't respond immediately, her eyes drifting over to the window that framed a distant skyline, the city alive but oblivious to our turmoil. Just be smart. And remember who you are. Her words hung in the air like a delicate thread as she turned to leave. As soon as she walked back through the door, I pulled my phone from my pocket again, heart hammering against my ribs. My sister had replied, but instead of more information, the message read, "Not just Mom. You need to come home." A wave of nausea washed over me. My mind relayed a cacophony of turmoil unspooling in every direction. My mother's health could unravel everything, and a part of me feared that if I chose my family now, I would be abandoning the flicker of hope I had found with Ryan. Just then, I heard footsteps approaching. The clack of polished shoes against the marble floor announced Ryan's return. I quickly wiped the hint of moisture from my cheeks. He stepped inside, the rigidness in his demeanor palpable, and looked toward me with an unreadable expression. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice steadier than I felt. But before I could respond, he continued, "I'm sorry about earlier. We were interrupted." "No," I began, a rush of emotions surging forward. I was the one who barged in. I'm the one who shouldn't be here. He stepped closer, his gaze intense, and I felt the gravity of his presence pulling me in. "But you are here, and for some reason, I can't shake the feeling that maybe you were meant to find me." As he spoke, a sense of belonging, of life resonated within me, even against the backdrop of my crumbling reality. The moment, however, was all too brief and fragile, like glass teetering on the edge of a table. Before I could voice my concerns or reveal what hung heavily in my heart, a loud crash surged from outside the room. Ryan's expression shifted instantly from vulnerability to alarm, and I felt the electric shock of anxiety whip through the air. "What was that?" I gasped, fear gnawing at me. "Stay here," he instructed, his tone authoritative as he turned toward the door. "Wait," I began, but he was already gone, disappearing into the chaos beyond. Panic clawed at my insides. Should I follow him? Should I wait? What would happen next? In that harsh uncertainty, clarity struck. With the phone still clutched in my hand, my sister's words replayed through my mind like a haunting melody. I had to decide, was this the moment where I anchored myself to a new reality, or would I run back to the bonds of my family, knowing that both roads now folded in on my heart? With a jolt of determination, I raced toward the door, propelled by the urgency to know what lay ahead, even if it meant stepping into a storm. What awaited me was still a mystery veiled in shadows. But as I crossed the threshold, I felt the tremors of change whispering promises beneath the chaos, confronting my fears, enveloping me with uncertainty, yet igniting a flicker of resolve. The hallway was a labyrinth of confusion that echoed my own spiraling thoughts as I navigated through the aftermath of Ryan's sudden departure. Each step felt weighted with the double-edged sword of my choices, facing the unknown or retreating to the comfort of my past. The cacophony and shouts grew louder, punctuated by the sounds of rushing footsteps and the distant blare of sirens that signaled impending chaos. My heart raced. Was Ryan safe? Had something serious happened? 100 scenarios played out in my mind, each more horrifying than the last. Amidst the panic, one thought settled itself firm. I couldn't stand by while he faced whatever awaited him. That I pushed through the last door leading out to the main area of the penthouse, my senses heightened. The scene that greeted me was one of turmoil. A group of men, clad in darker suits, were confronting Ryan near a panel of glass that overlooked the sprawling city. Their body language was aggressive, tension ricocheting in the air like a physical force. "Ryan," I called out, the sound of my voice cutting through the swirling chaos. Instantly, several heads turned, eyes narrowing. "Stay back," Ryan shouted, his voice tinged with alarm, as fear swept through me like a chilling breeze. I faltered, taking a hesitant step forward, but the side of Ryan's body blocked my view. I couldn't see his expression, but I could sense the weight of his thoughts: fear, frustration, maybe even desperation. "Who are they?" My voice trembled, and I could feel every heartache I was carrying flood into that question, binding my fate to his even more tightly. "People who want what I have. They don't care about how they get it." He spat, his jaw clenched, cutting through the panic with defiance. The men exchanged glances, their leader smirking with an arrogance that made my blood boil. "You're just going to throw away everything for a little fling, Ryan? You've got your priorities all mixed up. Get out," Ryan replied, his voice low and deadly. "You think you have any power here just because of your money?" The leader leaned in closer, the smirk widening. "That's where you're wrong, Ryan. It's not just about money. It's about influence, and you've just painted a target on your back that I could feel the corners of my world collapsing in upon me. Every statement a piece of the puzzle that was my new reality with Ryan. I had never been a part of such a dangerous game, and with every breath, I felt my place in this stark house of cards shift beneath me. "Let her go. She doesn't belong in this," Ryan said, his voice sharp, laced with an intensity that shook my core. "No, if you think I'm going to let them leverage you against your feelings for me, you're wrong," I interjected, my heart racing against the tide of fear that pressed down on me. "Don't be a hero. It's not worth it," he urged, and I could see his eyes flicker with concern, but there was a steadiness beneath that broke through. I swallowed hard. "But it is worth it because whether or not I'm here, this is all happening, Ryan." The air shifted and a momentary silence stretched between us, both vulnerable and suffocating, weighed down with words unspoken and fears shared. He fixed his gaze on me, and I felt tethered by an unseen force, one that urged me to stand firm, regardless of the consequences. Suddenly, the leader of the men stepped forward, eyes gleaming with malevolent delight. "What a lovely little romance. But I'm afraid it's going to be inconvenient." In one swift motion, he reached into his pocket, and before I could comprehend the perilous danger, he produced a sleek black device. "Let's see what your little love story is worth, shall we?" Time slowed as dread wrapped around me like a vice. I looked at Ryan, my voice caught in my chest, fears and emotions mingling. Before Ryan could react, he pushed me back slightly, his stance protective. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," he warned, but the bravado was met with laughter from the men, a sound raw and cruel. Then something unexpected happened. Just as the leader was about to press a button on the device, one of his companions, an unassuming man with dim eyes, surged forward, grappling with him. In the ensuing chaos, the world around me dimmed into a muted background, my focus locked onto Ryan. This could change everything, and in the heart of the turmoil, a flicker of hope ignited within me as everything around me erupted into an embattled chaos of voices and motions. A new perspective dawned. This was my choice, and I could either break or fight amidst this torrent. With a surge of determination, I stepped forward, heart pounding, ready to embrace whatever battle unfolded. But before I could grasp what was happening next, the sound of a gunshot rang out, echoing sharp and chilling through the air, and in that moment, I froze. The sound reverberated in my bones, seizing my senses and clutching my heart, igniting a terrifying realization. I had just walked into the center of a storm, and there was no way to know who would emerge unscathed. The sound of the gunshot punctured the chaos like a knife, slicing through all rational thought and replacing it with a frigid sense of dread. My heart seized, and for a breathless moment, everything went still. I felt as if I were locked in a moment, suspended between two worlds. The life I had known and the terrifying new reality that had clawed its way into my existence. Time resumed abruptly as shouts erupted around me, men scrambling like ants disturbed from their nest. My eyes snapped back to Ryan, who now seemed more alive than ever, poised between bravery and recklessness. The fierce light that had ignited in his eyes was now shadowed by the weight of uncertainty. Get down, he yelled, rushing toward me, pulling me low to the ground as bullets whizzed overhead. My body reacted before my mind could catch up, instinctually clinging to his side. The solidness of his presence offered a sliver of comfort, yet the danger was unbearably palpable. Are you hurt? I whispered, scanning him for any sign of injury, my heart pounding with fierce concern. No, but we need to move. He grabbed my wrist, his grip fierce and protective. The distant blaring of sirens grew closer, a promising sign of salvation, but the danger still loomed heavy above us. Between the shouts and the chaos, I spotted the leader, momentarily distracted by the unfolding disarray, his attention clearly shifted. Ryan, I breathed in fear, we have to get to the stairwell. It's our best chance. He nodded, his expression resolute. We could handle this together at least, I hoped we could. The world outside this fray had been a muddle of emotions already, but now it was danger thrumming, palpable between us, almost a tongue of fire licking at our heels as we scrambled toward the door that led to our only escape. Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was the unassuming man who had intervened before. His face was set with determination and urgency. This way. Follow me, he urged breathlessly, darting past us with fluid agility. Unexpected kindness or a necessary alliance, I mused with barely contained hope. Ryan looked to me, uncertainty shadowing his resolve. Trusting the unknown felt treacherous, but the opportunity to escape was desperate enough. We followed the man, each footstep echoing in my ears like a drumbeat of fate, leading us down the narrow staircase, each turn shrouded in multiplying fear. Downward we plunged, the thrum of adrenaline pushing us toward the unknown while the sounds of chaos faded behind us. Finally, we burst through a door leading to a service hallway, the sterile lighting stark against the shadows we had just fled. I inhaled sharply, grappling with the new reality that enveloped us. The man motioned hurriedly for us to move along, his demeanor calm against the wild gaze of Ryan and me. What's your name? I gasped, awareness settling amid the chaos. Ethan, he replied, glancing back. I know this building well. We can find a way out through the loading docks. But we need to hurry, they won't be far behind. As we fled down the hallway, something flickered within me, a growing sense of camaraderie igniting in a place steeped in fear, a glimmer of hope, forged in a fiery crucible of chaos. I found myself falling into a rhythm with Ryan, our breath mingling in paired desperation. How had it come to this? The abyss of love and longing had become a battlefield, uprooting all semblance of normality we had shared. Yet, amidst the terror, I felt tethered to Ryan as if the very act of running together was binding us in ways I never thought possible. But just as my heart dared to entertain a fleeting sense of warmth, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed behind us. My breath hitched, a swell of fear catching in my throat. I looked over my shoulder, my heart plummeting as I saw the glint of polished shoes materializing in the distancia, group of men, silhouettes of menace emerging from the shadows. Ethan turned sharply, urging us onward. Go, go, he hissed, his voice low yet urgent. With every ounce of strength, we sprinted down the unyielding hallway, but the distance seemed interminable, the footsteps rapidly closing in like the tide approaching a shore. Ryan, I screamed, panic twisting my words. What if I won't let them take you? He interrupted fiercely, but his tone couldn't bridge the fear that churned like a storm inside me. I could feel the weight of it, the impossible feat of escaping from the grip of danger, the burden of uncertainty that loomed heavy over us. As we reached the loading docks, I spotted a flickering fire exit sign at the far end. It felt like a beacon, an impossible promise of safety just out of reach. But when Ryan hurled open the door, a chilling surprise awaited, an exit blocked by a wall of brutes poised for conflict, ready to snuff out the flicker of hope we had pursued. Surround them. The leader's voice rang out, commanding his men with merciless intent. Fear cascaded through me, freezing my actions. But amidst the advancing threat, I felt something else, fierce need to protect not just Ryan, but also the bond we had forged, now more precious than ever amidst the impending storm. I could hear my heartbeat echoing in the canopy of fear, each pulse a reminder of what was at stake. And then, with a breathless determination, as the tension escalated, I felt fate drop a final bombshell. an unexpected tether haunting me. Ryan, I found myself whispering in uncertainty. What if there's more to this than we know? More than we're a part of? His eyes widened, and as the shadows of danger closed in, I wondered if we would ever uncover the truth that tied our destinies together, or if it would all be ripped away before we had the chance. The gunshots rang anew, and dread settled over my shoulders like a shroud, whispering promises of irrevocable change. The walls of the loading dock loomed over us like the jaws of an otherworldly beast, ready to swallow us whole. My pulse raced in sync with the relentless approach of danger. The air thickened with tension, and within it, I felt Ryan's gaze, fierce and unwavering, despite the chaos surrounding us. Back to the stairwell, Ethan shouted, pushing us toward the nearest opaque shadows of hope. There's an old maintenance shaft we can use. They won't expect it. The urgency in his voice propelled me forward, my feet moving with a will of their own. Before I could fully process the plan, footsteps rang out like a countdown to disaster behind us, every stride echoing the relentless march of fate. We were running out of options, a fraying rope dangling over a perilous drop. Keep moving, Ryan growled, his grip on my hand tightening as we surged toward the dimly lit doorway. I stole a glance back, the silhouette of the leader looming larger, his sneer curling menacingly. A chill raced down my spine at the realization of how close we were to disaster. We begged for fate to bend in our favor, scrambling back to the stairwell and plunging down into its unforgiving depths. The darkness enveloped us, swallowing our breaths, pressing tightly around us until it felt like we were the last remnants of a world eclipsed by chaos. But it was in this suffocating silence that small flickers of compassion began to unfold, emanating from pockets deep within the shadows. We paused on a low landing, our bodies pressed against the cool, damp wall, reality crashing over us in waves. We can't stay here, Ethan murmured, his voice a tether of calm amidst the storm. Keep your wits about you. We're almost through it. The way he spoke confident, yet vulnerable, made me realize that, even in this grim moment, there existed a fragile thread of humanity binding our fates together. As we descended, a sudden warmth brushed my skin. I glanced at Ryan, who was staring at me, an unfamiliar softness in his gaze. I need you to promise me something, he whispered fiercely above the hushed thumping of our heartbeats. That I nodded, fear and determination weaving tight together in my chest. Anything. Whatever happens, don't ever forget what we are to each other. This isn't just about survival. The moment was shattered as Ethan's sharp intake of breath cut through the tension. My heart plummeted when I followed his gaze, spotting a figure emerging from the shadows of the stairwell. One of the men, a hulking shadow stalking forward with intent. Run? Ryan's command burst forth, and in that instant, I realized the depth of our bond woven into the fabric of danger, love, and desperation. We fled deeper into the daunting staircase, the walls tightening around us like a noose. But as we dove down, I was forced to confront the implications of Ryan's unfinished words. What were we? The weight of unqualified love pressed down on me with each hurried step, making it harder to breathe. And as despair nipped at my heels, I couldn't help but wonder, could anything emerge unscathed from this chaos? I could hear the slamming of heavy boots pounding up the stairs, the sound hungry and predatory. Desperation clawed at my throat as we stumbled into the dim light of an underground corridor, my heart sinking as I struggled to voice my fears. Ryan, what if we're not just running from them? What if this goes deeper? My words trembled, fed by the nagging feeling of entrapment. There was more to this storm than just survival, and I needed to know where I stood in this fledgling world bound by danger and secrets to know. He halted in his tracks, pulling me close, his eyes blazing with a mix of fire and resolve. We'll discover the truth together. We are a force stronger than any of this. Just trust me. Even as urgency propelled us forward, his words imbued a semblance of warmth in my chest, a kindling spark amid the looming shadows. But the air was thickening again, and just ahead I could hear the faint sounds of a struggle, muffled echoes colliding with the stillness, a siren's song of dread wrapping itself around my heart. Ethan pushed ahead, urging us onward, but I could feel fate shifting once again. The walls whispered secrets I was not ready to confront, and as we reached an iron door, Something primal nudged at my consciousness, an unsettling sense that those who pursued us held more than our lives in their hands. Ethan grasped the door's handle, preparing to push it open. On the other side is our way out. He glanced back at us, uncertainty clouding his steady demeanor. But we need to be ready for anything. My breath hitched, anxiety spiking as I felt the touch of dread wrap around me once more. What waited on the other side? My fingers trembled against Ryan's, his strength a reassuring anchor in my turmoil. Yet in that flicker of hope, a sense of impending doom twisted the joy I dared to feel. As Ethan swung open the door, blinding light poured in, chasing away the shadows, but revealing a battlefield waiting to engulf us. In that heart-stopping moment, I saw them figures scattered across the floor, some familiar, some twisted by shadows and the brilliant light of something terrible. I felt the ground shift beneath me, a weightiness pressing down like a storm gathering to unleash its fury. "Stand back," Ethan shouted, and just as we prepared to escape into the unfolding chaos, I heard a chilling cry pierce the air. My heart dropped as I recognized the voice. "Help! Please, I need help." The plea snagged in the air, raw and desperate, sending a shudder through me as I whipped around. Everything froze as I realized who was in desperate need, and a whirlpool of fears spiraled around me. My world shattered into fragments, a million what-ifs cascading through my mind, each a blade cutting deeper into the uncertainty of our escape. Fragile threads of hope began to unravel, leaving me clinging to moments, choices, and the uncharted curve of our perilous journey ahead. The echo of the crime melded with an encroaching darkness. The truth lingered painfully close, a tempest brewing behind the veil. The ties that bound our fates dangled precariously as the shadows lengthened, leaving us with an unshakable question. Would we strengthen our bonds or shatter under the weight of revelations yet to come? The corridor was drenched in that harsh, blinding light, each flicker seeming to mock the darkness we had just escaped. Dread seeped into my bones as my gaze darted between Ryan, Ethan, and the chaotic scene unfolding before us. The desperate voice echoed in my mind, a haunting chorus drowning out every rational thought. "Who's calling for help?" I whispered, barely recognizing my own voice under the reverberations of panic that thudded in my chest. My heart felt like a prisoner locked away, fighting against the walls of fear that surrounded me. "Don't focus on that. We have to move," Ethan barked, his instincts pushing him to act, but my feet remained frozen to the ground. I had known that voice, had cherished it, had allowed myself to dream of a day when everything could be whole again. Dark flashes of memories flashed before me. Laughter, stolen glances, promises shared under a blanket of stars. And now, amidst the chaos, they were turning into nightmares. I couldn't let this moment slip away. Not again, not when someone I cared about was in peril. "Stay close," Ryan murmured, his hand steadying mine as he turned me toward the screaming chaos. The light painted shadows that danced with every beat of my heart. "We can't lose anyone else." But I couldn't shake the guilt weighing me down. If I turned my back now, would I live with the knowledge that I had abandoned someone vital to my world? I locked eyes with Ryan, a surge of emotion pooling between us, unspoken words filling the gaps of our shared silence. "If it's who I think it is." The thought clawed at my throat, and I forced the words out. "What about Alia?" The name hung in the air, thick and heavy, and I saw Ryan's face shift, a flicker of recognition mingling with dread. "You can't be serious," he muttered, disbelief leaking into his tone. Ethan was already moving, instincts honed from too many adrenaline-laden moments taking precedence as he pushed his way toward the cacophony. "Stay here. He'll assess the situation." The command cut through the air, but it only fueled the fire within me. "Ethan, wait," I cried, chasing after him, my heart thundering violently against my chest. If it was Alia, I had to help. This wasn't just a matter of survival. It felt like a matter of redemption. A flash of silver caught my eye as I crossed the threshold into the fray, a glint that shattered my focus. Up ahead, amidst the turmoil, a figure hurled themselves toward another, limbs flailing with desperation. And then, as if time had slowed, I saw her, the unmistakable grace of Alia, so achingly familiar, yet marred by the chaos surrounding us. "Alia," I gasped, pushing forward with newfound determination. But it was then that I noticed the dark figure looming behind her, a charge of energy crackling in the air, as if danger itself was incarnate. Before I could comprehend the storm brewing within that singular moment, Alia turned, her eyes wide with fear. Instinctively, I reached out, the bond we shared urging me to forge ahead through the tumult, the air thick with threats that swirled with malicious intent. "Don't come any closer," Alia screamed, her voice rising over the clash unfolding. "Get back. They'll take you too." My heart ached at the sight of her torment, and I couldn't help but respond to the plea embedded in her gaze. "Alia, I'm here. We can get through this together," I called desperately, waving my hands as if to shield her from danger. Suddenly, the dark figure lunged at her, intentions clear and malicious like a predator honed in for the kill. Panic surged once more, a wave that threatened to drown me, and I felt Ryan's presence at my back, his breath steady, his resolve unwavering that I had to save her. This wasn't just about confronting my own fears and insecurities. It was about facing the very real threat of losing Alia, the last connection to a life that felt so distant yet achingly needed. "Get down," I shouted instinctively, leaping forward as I watched in horror. The figure hesitated, its focus shifting to me, a glimmer of something malevolent dancing in its eyes. I realized that this wasn't just a battle for survival. It revealed the depths of human frailty, tested our bonds, and highlighted the truth behind our choices to in that charged moment. While I grappled with blinding fear and hope intermingling, Ryan pulled me back just as I was about to make a reckless move. "No," he growled, forcing me to rethink, forcing me to see the bigger picture enveloping us. "We can't expose ourselves. It's a trap." Every ounce of logic tried to break through the fear, suffocating me in the reality of our situation. Alia needed help, but was the price of reaching her too high? "Please," Alia cried, her voice like a lifeline dragging me back. "I can't hold them off for much longer." It was as if her words ignited a firestorm within me, stirring the remnants of courage deep within my soul. But just as resolve began to alight, the shadows shifted again, ushering forth a new figure, a woman, cloaked in midnight and danger, stepping forward with an unsettling calm. "The family reunion," she purred, her voice cutting through the chaos with a chilling familiarity that pricked at the edges of my awareness. A shiver coursed down my spine as recognition sparked a fracture in the world I thought I knew. The woman's gaze locked onto mine, calculating and cruel. How delightful to see the past come crashing back. "But I assure you, this is not the reunion you were hoping for." Panic froze my breath as the revelations hung in the air, alive with implications that could unearth our darkest truths. Suddenly, the walls of my reality closed in tighter, tightening to a point of no escape. I grappled with the weight of what was unfolding before me. A chilling realization flared within myself, forging new seams for the emotional tapestry to unravel upon. The past I thought I could escape now loomed just beyond reach, and in that heart-stopping moment, a tempest of unresolved emotions gathered within. But as the air crackled with the promise of tumultuous revelations, one final thought spun in my mind, igniting a painful query that clung to the edges of hope. Would we emerge from the ruins stronger, or would the truth shatter everything I held sacred? I stared into the shimmering abyss of her gaze, the woman before me, a specter of my past, a remnant of a life I thought I had shed like a second skin. Her smile wove despair into the air, each curve of her lips an invitation to the madness that enveloped us. The echoes of her voice unfurled horrors I dared not grasp. "It's time to remember, dear," she taunted, a cruel melody lingering where familiarity had once brought comfort. "Who are you?" I managed to breathe, the strength of my voice barely betraying the cacophony of thoughts crashing within me. "Oh, sweet child," she crooned, stepping slightly closer, weaving through the chaos with a fluidity that belied the danger she toed. "You really don't remember? I thought the bond of blood was supposed to be instinctual. I see now the years have dulled your senses." An insidious chill crept down my spine, twisting memories long buried, muffled whispers, half-formed images flitting like shadows. Voices of loved ones, once clear, now tangled into incomprehensible knots. Ethan and Ryan hovered, tense and watchful, their expressions tumultuous mirrors of my own confusion. They had drawn courage from the tumult, But my heart faltered. What if this woman was right? Focus on Alia. Ethan barked, finally breaking the spell her words had cast. My heart raced in tandem with his, but the weight of unearthing truth pressed heavily beneath my skin, intertwining with the desperate urge to save her. Alia lost in the fray, surrounded by chaos that seemed to mock every hopeful beat of my heart. We can't leave her, I cried, the urgency fueling the fire in my chest. But instead of moving, I felt rooted to the floor, raw realization curling around my thoughts like barbed wire. The woman's presence, both haunting and commanding, diverted my anger into uncertainty. It's a trap, just like before, she murmured, a ripple of satisfaction erasing the tension in her frame. I glanced at Ryan, hoping to draw strength from him, but I saw only the stark reflection of shared fear mirrored in his eyes. You think you can save her? Such foolish courage. You couldn't save anyone last time, could you? Pain lanced through me at those words, anguish echoing my past failures. What if this moment was no different? Doubt clung to my thoughts, a cascade of regret woven with desperation. But Alia let out a cry, and the moment morphed into one of urgency. I need you. Please. Shut up. The woman hissed, her visage still captivating despite the malice radiating from her. She moved like smoke, a shadow wrapped in silk as she extended her arm toward Alia. Darkness pooled around her fingertips, an ethereal menace swirling like a demonic storm on the verge of claiming its prize. Before I could collect my thoughts, Ryan was in motion, barreling toward Alia's struggling form. Get back, he roared, determined yet reckless. Ryan, no, I cried, fear gripping me like a vice. The woman's laughter trailed through the room, a cruel melody that only heightened the stakes as Ryan surged forward, fearlessly cutting through the madness. But I could see the price he might pay dancing in the eyes of the woman. Stop him, I shouted, reaching out, but Ethan's strength held me back, his grip like iron. We can't let him go alone. It's the only way, he replied, desperate determination chipping through the chaos and panic. We need to distract her, but my eyes were locked on Alia, her form twisting in desperation. Don't, I called, knowing that whatever was unfolding could rip apart the very fabric of our lives, that history had tainted every choice we made. The dark figure darted toward her. Ryan was within grasp of Alia, hands outstretched. I could see the desperate drive behind his eyes mirroring my own, but amidst the fervor and the rage, I couldn't shake the gnawing fear that surged within me, a paranoia rooted deep in the past that had trailed me like an unwanted shadow. In that beat of time, there was room for hope, a warmth, a flicker, an inkling of light amidst the encroaching darkness. I imagined a tunnel where we could all escape, where hands once severed would entwine. Again, forging a new path beyond the treacherous twist of fate. But would we emerge whole, or would the ghosts of our past drag us deeper still? Ethan thrust himself forward, positioning himself between Ryan and the woman, waiting for the right moment. The world blurred, an avalanche of emotions tumbling through me as I absorbed the stakes. Everything and everyone mattered. Alia, Ryan, even Ethan. A roar of anger erupted from my lips, fueled by the flash of memories that urged me to stave off despair, a visceral reminder of strength I had once claimed for myself. I took a step forward, then another. Let her go? I shouted, desire morphing into defiance. Only silence answered me, and a cold smile played on the woman's lips. This time you might lose something even more precious, she said softly, almost methodically, as if to insinuate the haunting fragility of love. That awareness, this deep, abiding fear plummeted through me, catalyzing something deep within that yearned to conquer the storm churning inside my soul. Who was I if not a fighter for those I loved? But as life crested on this edge of hope, a sudden intensity flickered in the air. The woman's expression shifted, a glint of malice surfacing with sudden ferocity. You should have never come back. The past doesn't drown easily. In a blur, her hand cut the air. Dark shadows surged, coiling toward me as I braced for the impact. The winds of fate shifted, and in that heart-stopping moment, clarity struck. This was my moment to decide, to embrace the chaos or succumb to the darkness that had haunted me all along. Alia cried out again, her voice threading through the tension as shadows rippled, surrounding us. And as my heart sank under the weight of impending loss, One relentless truth burned brightly. The past was rewriting itself in ways I could never have imagined, and this time, I wasn't standing idly by as hope slipped through my fingers. But with that fierce resolve came one last chilling thought: what truth was I willing to sacrifice for the chance of redemption? I stumbled forward, each movement tethered to a pulse of fear that vibrated through the room. The tension thickened, churning with the desperation of memories long buried and new horrors emerging. The woman was a master puppeteer, weaving through our doubts with sinister elegance. And despite the resolve swelling within me, I could feel the ground shifting beneath my feet. Please. Alia's plea sliced through the chaos, and the sound was raw, vulnerable. Her eyes were wide with terror as she struggled against the encroaching shadows. Help me. A part of me wanted to turn and flee, to leave this haunted room and seek refuge in the safety of denial. But another part, the part that still remembered the warmth of loyalty and love, pushed me on. I could not bear to watch her engulfed in darkness again. Ryan's face burned with urgency, and for a moment, our gazes locked, a shared understanding passing between us. We had fought through worse together. But before we could act, a flash of darkness consumed him. Had made his move, darting toward Alia. No, I screamed, lunging forward, my heart pounding in my chest like a war drum. But Ethan's grip tightened around my arm, anchoring me to the ground. Trust me, he insisted through gritted teeth as shadows swirled ominously around us like a living cloak. Yet the very act of being held back filled me with rage. We didn't have time for hesitation. The specter before us was cunning and relentless. Our only hope lay in acting as one, with a sudden might born from desperation. I yanked free from Ethan's grasp, pivoting to charge ahead. The woman's laughter echoed around me, a chilling melody that summoned the specter of past failures. I could almost hear their taunts, the echo of how I'd faltered before, how I hadn't been able to save anyone when it truly mattered. But then, there was a spark, of flicker of hope ignited by Alia's cries. You can do this, she shouted, her voice cutting through the darkness like a beacon. It filled me with courage, unearthing the last remnants of what I thought I had lost along the way. Stop, I shouted, breaking through the scrambling thoughts in my mind. Let us go. We don't want this. I didn't understand the words, but in my gut, I felt their truth. The shadows hesitated, melting back just a fraction, and in that moment of reprieve, I stepped closer. I could feel Alia's warmth faintly through the air, a faint tether binding us across the chaos that seemed to conspire against us. Then, against all odds, a flicker of light erupted around my fingertips, a rush of energy igniting within me, a long-ignored power I barely understood but instinctively embraced. The light grew as I reached out toward Alia, desperately trying to bridge the distance. Take my hand, I cried, feeling a bond rise, glimmering amidst the darkness. But the woman's laughter broke through like a gale, and her eyes narrowed dangerously. You think mere light will save you? She taunted, raising her hands. An overpowering wave of shadows lashed out, consuming fragments of light around us. Ethan gathered his resolve, stepping beside me. We hold on together, he shouted, extending his arm, a lifeline woven from frantic memories and fierce loyalty. Ryan, still grappling with the tendrils of darkness, shot us a glance that screamed determination. In an unexpected moment, the woman faltered, her confidence shaking for just a heartbeat. It was enough. The three of us converged, a tapestry of strength and will binding us against the encroaching tide. As the shadows lunged, our hands connected, likely the first time we'd fused our strength wholly in this moment of despair. The surge of light cascaded forth, washing through the darkness surrounding us, carving a path towards hope amidst the chaos. Alia grasped my hand, her eyes filled with gratitude, and together we became a singular for say a fragile glimmer, daring to overcome the looming dread. But it happened in an instant. The darkness howled, twisting around us, bending our light to its will. In a flash of blinding heat, I saw visions of a life once lived before, the memories hazy yet achingly familiar. Laughter, warmth, then darkness crushing it all into oblivion. And then, everything went black. In that moment of disorientation, I felt an unfamiliar presence wrap around me, a cold embrace that hinted at betrayal. And as awareness flickered back to life, Chilling horror washed over me like ice. A realization coiling in the pit of my stomach. Alia's hands had slipped from mine. Panic surged as I grasped at shadows, desperately trying to find her amidst the swirling tide. No, Alia. My voice shattered with desperation, gasping against the choking darkness that engulfed me. In that very second, a new fear loomed: the true price of our bond. How much would I lose in this fight? Would I be left alone once again, battling the demons of my past, the ghosts of abandonment repeating their haunting refrain? Before I could ponder further, the room flickered, and a visage formed in the depths of the shadows, one I never expected to see again. "Hello, dear," the woman's voice cooed, her smile both mocking and enthralling. "Perhaps I don't need to keep you entangled in the past. I have a better offer for you." And just like that, new possibilities unfolded, laced with both promise and darkness, leaving me hanging in the balance of fate, wondering what the next moment might hold. Would this be the hour where redemption was found, or merely a new beginning of heartbreak? The air hummed with tension as I found myself standing between light and shadow, between the chaotic reality I had woven with my loved ones and the treacherous past that threatened to consume everything I held dear. Panic thrummed under my skin as the woman's presence loomed close, her voice a silken whisper that danced at the edges of my awareness. "What if I told you there was a way to reclaim everything you lost?" For a heartbeat, I hesitated, the temptation of her words coiling around my resolve like a serpent. Alia, Ryan, Ethan, each tethered to a fragile hope, each ensnared in the snare of conflict that felt all too familiar. The shadows shimmered, and I remembered all I had faced to arrive at this precipice. Struggles fought, ties severed, hearts stitched together in love's burning forge, and now, as darkness danced tempting in front of me, I realized the power of choice thrumming in my veins. "No," I shouted, defiance bursting forth. "You think you can weave lies into promises? There's no trade for what you're trying to pull from my heart." The weight of her expectations wrapped around me, yet I felt the energy of my resolve igniting with each word, shaking the fear that threatened to upend every sacred part of me. "I wouldn't be bound by the chains of betrayal, nor tempted by shadows masquerading as comfort that I know your history," she hissed, flickering closer. "The fractured bond with your sister, the pain nestled deep inside you, you can erase it, start anew." The seductive pull of her inflection nearly balanced against my courage, igniting memories I thought I had buried. Memories of secret laughter shared with Alia, whispers of dreams at night, and promises of forever, but those very moments now glimmered like shards of glass, beautiful yet cutting. "And what of Alia?" I shot back, a fierce protectiveness rising within me. "What of the life we share, the love we've built?" Her eyes gleamed with mischief, dark amusement twisting at the corners of her lips. "You speak of love so easily, yet are you willing to barter the life of one for the potential to save your own wretched heart?" "Never," I shot back, my voice trembling but resolute. "What you offer is not salvation. It is manipulation veiled in promises." Then I turned to Ryan and Ethan, their presence a steadfast anchor amidst the storm of turmoil swirling around us. Ryan's eyes sparkled with the fierce intensity of someone willing to fight for what they loved. And in that moment, clarity enveloped me, solidifying purpose within the chaos. Looking at them invigorated my heart with hope, sending ripples of strength surging through my core. Together, we were woven with threads unbreakable. "Walk away," I cried, urging Ryan and Ethan to step back. "I will not let her play us against each other." The shadows shifted at my words, uncertainty flickering across the woman's cruel visage. "You think you can defy fate? Each of you is bound by blood, by desire, bound by love," I interrupted, the words tumbling from me like sacred invocations. "Love that does not shatter under the weight of fear, love that fights for the collective bond we share. We won't be torn apart again." As my words filled the space between us, an ethereal voice broke through the chaos, a haunting melody that transformed tension into a fragile harmonia, mere whisper that emerged from the depths of darkness. "Then stand together, if you dare." My heart stuttered. Something ancient echoed within the words, stirring the essence of lost hope. The shadows thickened, but amidst that darkness, I felt a spark igniting. The luminous glow of connection blossomed as Alia's voice joined in. "Please, she cried out, carving through the looming fog, her presence shining like a beacon on a stormy night. Don't let her win. In that moment, it was as if the air shimmered around us, colliding with the pulse of my essence. No more barriers, no more lies. Just the truth of who we were, unified against all that sought to tear us apart. Alia, I screamed, the urgency in my chest igniting ideas fueled by the ember of our shared bond. We will find our way through this. Time shifted. Ryan moved beside me, his fierce determination pooling into presence heavy with a promise. We all stand together, no matter what the shadows conjure. Light can emerge from darkness, yet it is our love that binds us. Edging closer to the wall of darkness, I felt the pulse of our connected hearts, the soft, steady rhythm that showcased our unity. Let's finish what we started, I urged, extending my hand toward Alia, my heart thrumming a thread of light navigating through the murky depths of the encroaching dark, and suddenly, as our hands clasped, a rush of warmth surged through us. Light emanated forth like a brilliant tidal wave, crashing against the shadows that crept around us, pushing them back with primal force. The woman recoiled, striking against the power we wielded together, her facade fracturing under the brightness we forged as one. You think you can overcome the past? She screeched, but her voice was drowned out by the crescendo rising among us. In that irrevocable moment, every past wound, every heartbreak stitched together in love, igniting a tempest that banished doubt with tenderness. Yes, I cried, my heart laid bare for them to see. We can overcome it all. We are not defined by our fractured history, but by our shared courage, our unwavering hope to shape the future. Sweeping flames of truth cascaded forth, the shadows spiraling as the light consumed everything in its path. The air thickened with power, shimmering around us like a protective cocoon, the amalgamation of love and strength pushing back against every faint whisper of despair. And then all at once, there was stillness, a quiet so profound that it rang like a gong through time, echoing with promise. The woman faltered, the smirk replaced by disbelief. And I knew the fight had shifted, and whatever horror she had summoned was unraveling against the resilience of our bond. But just as hope flickered back to life, another dive of darkness surged forward, and the world around us wobbled, the power released sending shockwaves through our space. A breath caught in my throat as shadows erupted anew, promising chaos. Yet even as the coils of darkness lunged toward us, I felt a shift in the atmosphere. Alia held tightly to me, her presence grounding as we waded through uncertainty. Ryan advanced beside us, the strength of his spirit igniting courage I had never known. This was love at its core, the kind that compelled us to fight, to push against despair, and to emerge from the shadows with hearts intertwined. If the shadows wanted to claw us back into the depths, they'd have to reckon against our united light. Together, Ryan shouted, and I knew then, while uncertainty loomed, we could emerge victorious, that whatever happened in the throes of what was to come, we wouldn't walk this path alone. And with that, we fortified our stance, light glowing brightly around us, love entwined in every heartbeat, carving a path for possibility even amidst fear. Ready? Alia's voice quivered with resolve, and as we prepared to confront the tableau ahead, I felt hope blossoming anew, simmering beneath the surface of every spoken word, an unformed thought, everything finally crystallizing into a singular truth. Yes, I whispered, holding each of their hands tight. Always, as grasps of shadows danced around us, I stood resolute, ready to confront whatever lay beyond the darkness, the tether of love, a force stronger than fate itself. And with a commanding pulse of my heart, we pushed forward, stepping into the unknown with our hands entwined, promising to fight for our future. The storm could rage, shadows could engulf us, but together we'd carve our place amid the remnants of chaos and emerge into the light, rewriting the story of our unbreakable bond. Light surged forward, and as one, we cried out against the darkness, a wave of defiance cascading over us like a blanket of hope that we would endure. United, always.